every smart girl, every smart person really who noticed their hotness and appreciated it was like, I'll solve your problem for you. Notice me.
Yeah, you know what? It's more like everyone else leaned so hard into their hotness that they were like, this is the world.
Ugh. Are they enabling because of their hotness? Like they were being enabled?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. So next time you see a hot guy, shake your head and feel bad for the buddy.
Just trip him a little bit.
Push him.
Give him an encumbrance. He'll be confused, but if enough of us do it, maybe he'll be like,
he'll get smarter.
Oh, this is life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're sweet sometimes.
Sometimes.
Or maybe it's, we could all move through the world like hot men. What if that's the takeaway?
I love that. I sometimes try to think like that. Like, what if I was a hot guy? Or like, what if all the hot guys liked me? Would that change my confidence? I don't really know.
I don't know about that part.
But sometimes I try and think like, wouldn't that be great? Because, because you do a thing, I do a thing where you see a hot guy. I'm married. Sean knows.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. I mean, Sean knows I do this, so this is no secret. And you want him to notice you. It feels great.
Yeah,
It feels great when the hot guy notices you. And then I try to like talk myself out of that by being like, act as if he does already notice you. And I'm like, I'm really trying. And then I sound dumb.
Oh.
Yeah. One time in middle school, a really hot guy, Chris Beecham, shout out to you.
Wow.
He was Black and Asian mixed, and it was like wow. And he kissed me on the cheek, and I was so happy and shocked. I turned around and walked right into a door.
Oh,
yeah,
Jess,
middle
like
school
movie.
glory. I know. Ah, cool.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I'm happy that happened to you.
Thank you. But that's what happens when the hot guy likes you.
Yeah.
Nothing good.
Nothing good. Instead, I'm going to be like, I am 6'2". I am broad-shouldered.
I am broad-shouldered.
I exude confidence.
I am beautiful.
As though I didn't even know there was another way.
I love this. Welcome to the show. Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Hover. My friends call me Jess.
I'm Layne Dealing-Sherland. My friends call me Layne, and this is Very Good Enough, a podcast from Very Good Mothers Club.
And we're so happy you're here. And I didn't wash my hair for you. So this is for the listening audience, not the viewing audience.
I, too, didn't wash my hair for you because I'm not a hot guy.
I don't know if hot guys wash their hair.
Do whatever they want.
They
That's the whole point.
Oh, we do what we want.
Yeah, excuse me for
Welcome
yelling
to the
away
hot
from
guy.
the microphone.
Welcome to the Hot Guy Podcast.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about something.
Hot men. For an hour.
The whole episode's about hot men.
Yeah.
It's actually about future hot men. It's about your babies. And maybe some of them are going to grow up to be hot men.
Sure.
I don't know. That was a weird
They're all going to grow up to feel like hot men.
Wow. We are here to talk about your children. Okay, here's what we're doing. On Tuesday at noon Pacific Standard Time, California time, we led that call that we tell you about every week via Zoom, where the moms in Very Good Mothers Club, the online community, logged on and we saw your beautiful faces and we were together and we talked and we answered questions and it was amazing. And one of the main questions that landed was about boundaries with your kids, which is so big. It was basically this idea that like your little toddler makes requests of you, you love them so much, you want to move to do everything that they want, but then is that good? And like, how much do you do that? And what if you don't want to do that? And what if you've made them dinner already and then they don't like it? And then now you have to make them another one and then they don't like that. But then you're like, maybe they do like it because it's chicken nuggets and they always like it and you don't know what to do. So then you get on the call and you ask Layne what to do. And she had really good answers. And it actually was so good that basically by the end of the call, we were like, let's talk more about this. And the moms in the community specifically said, can you talk more about this? Can you give us even some scripts, some things we can say in certain moments? And we want to honor you guys. So actually we had a different idea for this podcast, but just to honor what you're actually going through, we are pausing those plans to speak to this topic. And lucky us, I arrived here and Layne had a book full of notes, which I know is a really good thing.
It's a good sign.
And I'm prepared to speak on this,
Yeah.
but not as any sort of expert. I'm prepared to speak on this as a fellow mom who is like, what the do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Because my little loves, 2-year-old and 3-year-old, but specifically the 2-year-old is in a stage of like, no, I don't want anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tantrum is so big and so loud and goes on so long. It goes on longer than I think is healthy or real or good. And I'm like, is this fine? And we do every single thing we can think of.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happened this morning, so this is all very fresh. And thankfully, I spend time with you weekly, and I just had this call with these other moms, so I was able to be like, this is normal, like try this, try that, try this, try that. Yeah, so I'm excited to be able to talk on this with you guys and at least have some normalcy to something that we all go through, but if we're just going through it alone in our homes, maybe we don't realize how common it is to struggle with this.
Yeah, I like the sort of slant of this one. There's so many ways to talk about boundaries.
Yeah.
We talked about them last season. We'll talk about them forever.
Right.
But like it sort of means so many different things and there's so many ways to come at it. This one was interesting because it was a lot of you guys talking about more like personal boundaries, not so much like how do I do safety boundaries or like how do I hold a bedtime or like some of those other kinds of things, but more like it was like my child wants me to hold her and she doesn't want me to lean on anything or sit to, I get no structural support, but she just wants me to hold her for like ever. You know, there was a lot of like my body, it's too loud for me. They want this over and over. My time isn't being respected.
They want this song again and again and again, and I'm all done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of a fun one because it is so, I hope that it ends up feeling like personally empowering as like I'm a human person because like spoiler, the answer is like there are two people in the relationship and what you're going to do with your kid is like shift your relationship dynamic so that you get to be a person at the same time as they get to be a person. We'll talk all about what that means.
Yeah.
But if you do that in one relationship in your life, that will filter out into all the relationships in your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited.
I love that.
Okay.
I love it. Do you want to start us? I mean,
Let's take it away.
yeah, go for it.
We'll start at the very beginning. Very good place to start with.
True.
I did learn this at the very beginning. So like one of my very, very first early childhood education classes ever was taught by this woman, Beth Rizzo in Santa Barbara, with whom I don't have contact, but I feel like I need to just endlessly credit because there just are those people in your life who like she's a teacher or was at that time like an instructor at a community college and like oversaw the lab school there. And the idea that like people don't like know her and she didn't write a book. She's not like a person in education necessarily, but like everything I've ever done has come out of like the first 2 classes that this woman ever taught me.
That's so
I think
cool.
we should call out people like that.
Definitely.
And I hope somebody ever someday tells her there's this girl out there talking about
Yeah, if you know her, tell her.
Yeah, if you know Beth Rizzo. So she taught my infant toddler caregiving class and she wanted to talk to us about the 3 R's, which is a very college class thing to say. But she wanted to talk about respectful, reciprocal relationships.
It's also a very common like sermon preaching.
Absolutely.
And we have 5 things that start with W to tell you about God's love.
I just want you all to be able to really take this home with you and remember the 3 R's: respectful, reciprocal, relationships.
Perfect. I'm never going to forget this.
I could do a youth pastor voice this whole
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, please.
I have a hard time with youth pastors personally. Even as a youth, I was like, this is the wrong energy for me.
You know,
this is not right.
That is not surprising to me at all.
Let me out of here. No, I'm not playing your stupid game. I'm not here for your entertainment. Youth pastor. I knew they were college students. Even when I was 11, I was like, you're not a real grown up.
The only college students that had my eye as a young person were, because I didn't grow up going to youth,
was
pastor?
it the hot
No,
men?
youth group?
'Cause-
Probably. No, the college students who had my eye, which I actually didn't realize were college students, were the characters at Disneyland. I was like, oh, to be you. Who are you? And how do I be you? And I actually auditioned to be Belle multiple times.
That is also not surprising.
No.
And you should have gotten that job.
Thank you
would have been
so
the
much.
perfect
Someone
Belle.
consoled me by saying, you're actually too tall. You couldn't have. Like, I would keep going like certain rounds and then they would cut me off. My friend, actually I had multiple friends who worked at Disney as characters. And they were like, oh, you're too tall. I'm like, oh,
They want those
thank
to
you.
be the little ones.
Yeah, I'm just going to receive that was why, because I can't even imagine.
Well, there could be no other reason.
Thank you.
At
One
made for that role.
time, okay, this was probably heaven trying to like hug my soul. I was at Disneyland on my birthday. I was 27. I was in the bathroom and I come out to wash my hands and this little girl goes, oh, Mommy, it's Belle without her dress on. And I look because I'm like, she's here?
She knew.
Yeah, she meant me. And I was like, oh, hi. And I immediately, excuse my cough, immediately go into character. Because I want to honor her dreams because I was her once.
Yes.
And then I leave the bathroom and I'm like, Sean, you'll never guess. Anyway, sorry. Oh, you take it away. I keep stealing this, but yeah.
Respectful relationships. So here's the thing. All of your interactions and all behaviors on both sides are rooted in your relationship dynamic. So sometimes we get into this weird thing of like tips and tricks for getting your kid to whatever, or like we want to like spot clean. Like, I hate this one behavior.
Yeah.
This one thing drives me nuts, and we got to just like take care of that thing. And people will even come at me and be like, could you be like really practical about this one thing? And like, the thing is, sometimes you can do all the things about that one thing, but if the dynamic of your relationship doesn't change, you're in the same cycle with your kid forever.
Yeah.
And even if you got that one thing sort of like scrubbed out of their behavior structure, like the reason behind and the underneath thing is still in there.
Yeah.
So we want to be really practical, and we will be really practical, but you have to know that like you're in a relationship with a person. And that's where I am always using this like silly phrase of like, so pretend it's a person. That's like step one.
Pretend your child's
Pretend it's a person. And then, which, you know, it's a person. I'm just teasing you, obviously. But it's
good.
really easy to forget because they don't act like I feel, you know?
Yeah.
And I think of me as a person. And so sometimes they can feel like, so distant or like.
It's like our call this week where we were laughing because every mom was like, so my child does this barbaric behavior of like throwing their food or like crumbling it and staring at me, or like
swinging
my child
the cat by its tail.
Yeah. Every single behavior, you're like, so that's a person. Because you just, a little savage. But yeah, it's a person.
But it is a person.
It's also something, I don't remember if you've said it or someone else said it, or I just hear it in your voice, but this idea that like they're not equations that we solve, which I wish they were, because then we would figure out the proper equation. But
you isolate the variable, you plug in the thing, out comes a different behavior.
But as humans, we're not. So life is not an equation to be solved, which is often what we try and do. And so that's very much true for this.
Yeah.
And it's true that every single child you have, I have 3, the equation, I'm using air quotes, it's different. Like these kids are different people. These are different relationships.
Yeah.
And so as much as I would love to kind of scroll through a little Instagram slide of like, try this, try that, try this, try that, what I try on my oldest child isn't going to work on my youngest because the temperaments are different and the way they flow is different.
Yeah, it's
anyway,
a different person.
So it's all,
you have a different relationship.
Absolutely.
You were a different you each time that child was a baby.
Yes.
So like it's not even like me and this child. It's like the
current me.
Yeah, current me and like the full range of my relationship with this kid, our history together. Like there's like a tether between us and it stretches and grows and it's elastic. I'm in a relationship with this person. So tips and tricks are useful. All the advice is useful. All the practicals are yes, but all of it is rooted in your relationship.
That's really good.
So that's the relationship R.
Okay.
And respectful is obviously a word we're all familiar with. We know what it feels like to be respected in life, and we know what it feels like to be disrespected in life. And if we're considering that our child is a person, then we can look at adult behavior, including our own, around them and think, if I was a person and someone was doing that to me, is that or is that not respectful?
Right.
Like, I don't feel like I need to get real deep into that for you all. I feel like you're the kind of people who can be able to just
get it.
Just enough of a reminder to say like, is this relationship respectful? And reciprocal means like going both directions, or like coming back around. So like something goes out from me, goes to them, and it comes back to me. It's not one-sided. So then the next question is like, is this respectful relationship going both directions?
Meaning, are they respecting me as well? Okay.
Meaning, is this a relationship on both sides? Meaning, am
Interesting.
I insisting on the respect that I deserve as a person?
That's really good.
And that's not the same, I want to just quickly flag, as like the authoritarian nature of like, thou shalt respect me, child, be did you not hear my voice and respect my words? That also is not reciprocal, because that's actually not going, that the respect only goes one direction from the child to the adult in that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a relationship where there's like two adults, not in a hierarchy with one up or one down. And one of the ways that people tend to swing now as a response from some of the authoritarian ways that some of us got raised is to be like, well, we put this child way up high then.
As
the
if
child
they're
gets all the
adult,
respect.
sort of. Yeah.
And I'm just going to give and give and give to this child because I don't want to be this other thing.
Right,
but that
right.
also is not a reciprocal relationship. That's also this one-sided where just everything goes out from the adult. And it can like breed the same kind of like intensity in the child who feels the power dynamic being off that actually you experienced with your parent, where the power dynamic was off. You know, you can kind of create these funky puzzle pieces
Interesting.
in all kinds of ways. So we would just want to be looking to build relationships that are like, yes, we are two people here. There is respect flowing back and forth between us.
Yeah.
And now I'm an adult and I make all kinds of choices about how your life goes and my life goes. But like my mindset for us, I look at you and me.
Like the way I value you is as an equal to me, though I am responsible for you. So my, what would it be? Almost like my agenda is the agenda we follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But ultimately we are equal in worthiness of love and respect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think that a lot of the kinds of people who follow your videos or are interested, who like the kinds of things we talk about, are already trying to be pretty respectful to their children. Yeah. So today, the piece of the boundary that we're going to talk about is like the reciprocal part, actually. Definitely. Where like we're going to talk about understanding what the boundaries, your own personal boundaries are, and holding those with your child. Yeah. Which is hard to do. Totally. Can be really hard to do. Especially it's hard to like differentiate yourself from them. You made them. They're like literally made out of your matter. They eat from your body still sometimes, you know, like it's a very, very, it's such a close relationship, but you did birth them and they are out and there are now two people. Right. And like their skin contains them and your skin contains you. Yeah. And we talked a lot about like what boundaries are in an episode last season, which I'll link in the show notes for this. Cool. That one was kind of before the holidays and talking a little bit more about boundaries with other adults, but like we really got into like boundaries are about finding your edges. They're not rules that you lay down or like a list of codes that other people have to follow about how to treat you. It's just saying like, I'm a person, which means that there's an edge to me. And when something crosses over the edge of me, like, oh, there's a response, just like with my skin or my body. If something penetrates my skin, whoa, my brain sends me like, this is a pain signal. Yikes, something bad is happening here. Yeah. In the same way, emotionally and relationally in your life, when something happens, you feel like, oh, that person got too close to me. There's like a little rise in you. And that's a cue for you that like, oh, that's my boundary. That's where my edge is. They crossed over my edge. Wow. Yeah. So we spend time with ourselves just kind of noticing that in our lives and seeing like, where is their anger? Where is their resentment? Where is their like flare up inside, and hearing that message from yourself without being like, yeah, I shouldn't be an angry person. Just being like, whoa, something came up there. Interesting. What was that? Yes. Oh, it seems like that person hit one of my edges. Yes. And that's an edge that I know that that's important to me. Right. And so you get to calmly, peacefully hold the edges. Yeah. It's really good. That's what boundaries are. Well done. Do some more of that in a second if we want to. This is some language that I got from my friend, Dr. Sam Rader. She says that people think that boundaries are going to be the end of love, but actually boundaries are the beginning of relationship. Could you please say that again? I love this line. She said it to me before and it is so important. It's so good. Again, please. Boundaries are not the end of love. They're the beginning of a relationship. So good. If you are so fully enmeshed with another person that there are no boundaries, you're actually not in a relationship. If there's no distinction between the two things, they can't relate to one another. That's just like, that's not even relationship stuff. That's just like physics, right? Yeah. If there's no distinction between two things, they're not two, they're one. Yeah. And you can't, like, nothing can go back and forth if you're so connected. Is it like amoebas that eat? It's like you
aid each other.
Yeah.
You're just
You absorb one
you're-
another's
yeah.
personhood.
Yeah, right.
And then you're not two people
That's
in a
not-
relationship.
Yeah, right.
Or
Mhm.
you're even like when that baby is way up inside you, mostly this is a you entity still. And then that baby comes out and now there's two because there's separation.
Interesting.
So now you get to have a relationship because there's two. It's good news that there's space between us because it means we can relate to each other.
Yeah. And you even do some of that relating when they're in there though, because you feel like there's this really crazy like foot kicking and you're like, oh, we're relating. Like you're already beginning and then now they're out and then it's a different thing. But you're right. It is that thing where you're like, you're one. You're feeding them on your chest. Your everything is connected until it's not, until they're running away.
Right.
Which is roughly around the age where this gets tricky.
Yeah.
This boundary thing.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about them differentiating in their brain development from you and that being like where that behavior comes from of them being like, whoa, we're two things. And now I have to sort of turn on you in a way and figure out what that means.
And that's
like,
around age 2, correct?
Yeah. Like 18 months to 2 years old.
Okay.
But the way that you're describing it is now from this like mother side where you also have to go through that journey of recognizing the differentiation, letting it happen and actually like participating in it in a very healthy whole way.
Yes.
Because now your little one is out there. They've turned their gaze on you like, whoa, you're separate from me. And now they're going to be kind of endlessly coming back to crash into you and find out like, can we re-become one? No. Oh, does she move? Does she move? Does she move? Does it change? What happened? Like that wave.
What are her reactions to the things I'm doing?
And this is your opportunity to be the sea cliff.
Yeah.
And let the wave come crash against you. And this is sort of the loving part of saying like, actually, I'm a cliff and this is my shape. And I hold your water right now. But like my shape stays no matter what you bring to me.
Yeah.
So there's a personal journey of needing to learn like what your exact shape is.
Yes.
And actually just to throw to Dr. Sam one more time, she has this beautiful embodiment practice that you can just do quickly with yourself where you close your eyes and you imagine like a thick Sharpie marker just running around the edge of your body, like up and through the fingertips, all the way around your armpits and your legs and just feeling all the little edges of you and connecting. And then you just imagine yourself sort of pressing up against that line and really feeling your own shape. Like, oh, I have a shape and it's mine. It's the perfect shape for me.
Yeah.
This is my edge.
Yeah.
And just sort of like feeling and tasting what that feels like. And it seems really simple, but it can feel really revolutionary because we're not taught to do this. Like we're not taught overtly to remember like who we are, find out what our edge is, hold it, be clear.
Yeah.
That language certainly wasn't anywhere in my life. Like I learned it through child development and then I've gotten some really beautiful language from Dr. Sam lately.
Beautiful.
But
can I ask a question that I think I know the answer to, but I think it would help them is like, could you give some examples so they have a picture of things you've seen in life? So we won't use anyone we know from these calls or something, but things you've seen where it appears, or maybe the mother admitted that she was not operating with a sense of boundary with her toddler. Because I think that would help them know what we're talking about.
Yes, I have a very favorite.
Okay.
One of my toddler moms had twins, 2 little twin boys, super curly blonde hair, exactly the same as hers. And they looked like a little set coming down these big, long stairs. So like the school that I worked at was like part of a bigger organization. And so it was kind of like in the way down section. So you had to walk really far from the parking lot and then way down these really intense stairs. And then you could relieve yourself of these children.
You're exhausted.
Straight into the playground. But it's a long walk from the parking lot. And she had 2 babies as previously stated. And she carried both of these babies, carried them and they got bigger and they turned 3 and they turned 4.
Wow.
And she was still trying to carry both of these babies. And over like 2 years, she began to bend forward and her whole body, like her shoulders came forward. And then she would have to step sideways down the stairs because she had lower back pain because she wouldn't just tell these children, no, this doesn't work for my body.
Because the boys want
and that's not isolated to her carrying them down these stairs, right?
Sure.
This is a dynamic within her relationship with these children where they say, I need this.
Yeah.
She hates conflict. She wants them to be happy. She doesn't know that she gets to be a person in this relationship. So she's literally breaking her own body to carry these children downstairs. And then at some point, she also was gaining a lot of weight. There's like, my feeling was that her body basically never had a chance to recover ever from having the babies.
Yeah.
And now they're 4 years old, and she just had still been like metaphorically and literally like carrying their bodies for them. And then she got involved in like a health program that totally changed her life and like helped her structure her like all of their food. It was one of those cool programs where there's like these are all the nutrient things, and you spend your whole Sunday afternoon just like prepping all the things, and now it's just here for you. You get up in the morning at this time. There's a community who meets you. You guys work out together. She got super trim and super strong. Her skin tone changed really significantly. Her children had way more energy because they were eating all this like beautiful food, and because their mom was like, no, I'm not available right now. Your dad has to wake you up in the morning because I have to work out. I'm doing this thing. These are the edges. Yeah. And they tantrumed about it. Like that was not easy. She had to really make that choice for herself. But her whole relationship with her children and herself and her body, like her demeanor and her
even
spirit
like her marriage
were so
probably
different.
Benefited, you know, because you can imagine everyone close to you benefits when you are well. But to be well requires having some healthy boundaries.
Yeah, and it's not that she changed her eating, and it's not that she worked out. It's that she decided that her life was going to shift, that her health was a priority, that she mattered. And like built some structure around it and then held that line in her life. Yeah. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
God bless
I'm going
her.
to add something that you and I have never talked about, but something I see in calls and something I feel with Jules specifically. There are some of us, some mothers, who feel that from birth, we did not properly bond with our babies.
Oh, interesting.
It may not actually be true. It's more like it's a fear because maybe our babies were born via C-section. We didn't expect it. Maybe they were immediately taken to the NICU, which is where my thing is with Jules. And she was there for almost a month. And I wasn't able to be there all the time because I was with Wilson a lot. So I would go and spend certain parts of the day with her, but it was not much. And Sean spent more time at the NICU than me. And so, but I've heard variations of this. One mom described that like her baby was born, she went to the bathroom and she came back in the room and her mother-in-law was holding the baby as the first arms that held the baby.
Panic. That sends panic through my body.
Yeah. Or like for Jules and I'll speak to that. There's this feeling in me that I may have failed her. Yeah, like I didn't mean to fail her, and I don't even have conclusive evidence that I failed her. But there's this sense that like she had to be without me for so long, and she wasn't in my arms for so long. And so then the way that plays out sometimes is now as this really beautifully independent 2-year-old, she's more independent than my other 2 kids. And I want to celebrate it as like, this is so cool. She'll probably be president one day because she for sure is a leader, not a follower. But at the same time, there's like a tinge, a little like pang of, well, is she actually just not very bonded with you? Like, is she actually pushing back this hard because you who were supposed to be there weren't there? And yeah, the reason why I bring it up is because that can be something that can be very confusing when I'm in a situation where I want to have a boundary that makes sense. Like, no, babe, like we don't hit, or we don't talk to mom like that. We don't talk to mom like that. That's not how we do this. Kind of what you say, like that's a tool that doesn't work. But there's kind of this backwards voice somewhere back there of like, well, you know, like maybe somehow by me bending over backwards for her, it's like my effort to restore the bond, or like my attempt to not further divide us if by chance there is a divide. Which I don't even know if there is. I could just be dealing with a 2-year-old who's very independent. The comfort I found is that I'm not alone in that. Like in our community where we lead these weekly calls, I've heard from many moms some version of Like, I don't know if I bonded with my baby right away, if I did the thing I was supposed to do. There's a lot of pressure to bond, but then there's a lot of ambiguity around what the heck does bonding mean? To the point where you get moms months into motherhood who tell us, I still feel like there's a bit of a disconnect. Like, I feel like I'm holding this baby. I love this baby, but I haven't really internalized that this is my baby. There's still some disassociation there. And so then they can feel like, oh gosh, am I not bonded? What I can tell them easily is, you're totally normal. Everything's fine. But when it's yourself, you end up crying on a podcast because it's a lot more intense.
So intense, so tender.
So tender.
It's such a tender thing inside, and such it's very precious in that way. Very, very important.
Totally.
Like, what a question to have.
Yeah.
Inside.
And it can make something like this more complicated than it even needs to be. But I love what you say about like modeling a boundary for them. Like, you're having a boundary, and instead of viewing it as this thing that's dividing us or making them protest, almost like, look what you've done to them.
Right.
It's like, okay, show them by having a boundary, show them what it means to value themselves as a person, so that down the road, they too are able to operate in boundaries.
Yeah.
So teach us how.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
This is about having a self, and you have a self and they have a self, whether or not either one of you wants to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
No matter what has happened in your relationship from the very beginning to the very end, like, you exist as a person, and you have a shape, and yourself is important and valuable. Yeah. And what you are getting to show your child in holding your own shape and valuing your own self and showing yourself to them is, you're getting to show them, like, yes, how to do that for themselves, which we should talk a lot about because that's so motivating, but also you acknowledging that you exist and that you are a self and have a self and take up space in your relationship is the only way to have a real relationship with them. For you to endlessly be emptying yourself away and trying to make more and more and more space for Jules, you're actually retreating from a relationship with her, because yourself is leaving in order to make more space for her. And for her, she's still an amorphous concept. So she's basically just stirring up tornado because there's space, and then there keeps being more space. So she's just going to fill it with, I don't know. Right? Rather than you being like, here I am. I'm your mother, and I have density and valence, and my body's made out of matter, and it matters.
Totally.
And I'm here for you. And I do want to bond with you in your life in whatever way that works for us. I'm not leaving. Like, the wholeness of me is here.
That's beautiful.
This is how it gets to be treated. This is what it deserves. This is what it can do for you. It's amazing, me.
Yeah.
It's amazing, my body.
Yeah.
It's amazing, my thoughts and my needs. They're wonderful, and they get filled, and yours get filled, and we go back and forth, and each of us takes up the correct amount of space. And I actually do things with you when I actually enjoy them, not whenever you feel like it. I actually do the things that I can for you, and then when I can't or when I choose not to, I don't. And now you can trust that when I say yes, it means something. And when I say no, it means something. This is a relationship, right?
Yeah. And it creates so much safety if that's true. If the person you're in a relationship with says what they mean and does what they say, that's so safe.
Yeah. If you're constantly emptying yourself out or retreating or trying to bend where you shouldn't bend, you're losing your shape. You're losing the impact of who you are is lost on your child, right? They can't actually know you if you're endlessly like, yes, sure, absolutely, I guess we'll just keep doing this thing. They can feel when you're tired. They can feel when you don't want to chase them anymore.
Right.
Like, you not being yourself is not going to improve a relationship with a person.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're a person and she's a person.
Totally.
She knows and she can feel you. She can penetrate through any of our adult bullshit because she doesn't have any for herself.
Yeah.
So they have these like laser eyeballs that are like, nope, not that's not real. That one's not real. That's why like there are certain people who are like magic kid people and all the kids are like, ooh, let me be with that person. Like, that's the person who is telling them the truth, right? Who like actually wants to be around them or isn't available right now. And then the 2-year-old's like, please though. But please me.
Yeah.
No, I'll be with you when I'm actually having this conversation right now, and then I'll be with you later. And then when that adult does come around for the children, they're like, I love you. You know?
Yeah.
Like if you want to be connected to this little person in a way that's real, like actual you has to be allowed to exist.
Yeah. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking like one thing collectively as parents, we don't want our kids to have as they get older is anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And if the kid knows that the parent constantly bends to everything that the kid wants, that puts the kid in the position of being the authority and being responsible, which is way too much power for a little guy.
They know that they can't keep everybody safe.
And so then ultimately it leads to anxiety. And there's so many ways I'm trying to provoke a parent to have boundaries.
Yeah.
One way I know is that none of you want your kids to be anxious. So have boundaries. It will actually help the children to feel safe and to feel secure and then grow up knowing how to walk in that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, because everything in your relationship with your child, like, first of all, it is what it is on its face, right? Like, I'm a person, you're a person, we're having a relationship, and that's enough. Like, that's enough of a motivator to like, let's make healthy choices in our relationship.
Yeah.
But then also there's this other crazy layer of like, everything that you're watching me do is you learning how to be a person for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So particularly if you have little girls, if I, your mom, and am endlessly emptying myself out, stretching way past what I even need to do, like sort of just cause, particularly that compulsively, like, let me make sure, and I'm checking on you and you and you, and I'll do this thing again and that, and you just didn't enjoy what I did. And it's not even like you needed me to do something different. It's like you felt like you wanted something else. So I'll just, we're just showing little girls that this is what women do. Right. And we're showing our children that this is what people do. This is what love means. Love means I don't have a self anymore.
Right.
Love means that the outside thing is bigger than the inside thing and more important than the inside thing. And then also they're learning this is how I get to treat people.
Right.
So there's these 3 layers of like, it matters enough just that you just get treated well by this child and that your relationship is reciprocally respectful.
Yeah.
And then it really matters that your child watches you be able to like have a personhood. And then it really matters that your child learns absolutely not. This is not how you treat people. And yes, this is how you treat people. This is how it works.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. And what I've seen in my life is that when I don't operate in boundaries, then it's like building up resentment that comes out sideways in ways that like really suck more than if I just would have held the line at the appropriate moment. It'll just come out in impatience or frustration or anger that doesn't actually match the moment. It's not good.
Yeah, because those feelings don't go anywhere.
Right.
Your feeling of exhaustion or your feeling of I don't want to or irritation.
Yeah.
Like you can't just banish those feelings. Those are all messages from yourself letting you know like something's not working for me here.
Yeah.
And if you just push those things down, like it's like pressurizing liquid, or it will simply find a crack somewhere else to spurt out of. So how to find these boundaries, how to know what you're allowed to say yes and no about. I think you can do that really authentically. I think you can hear yourself be like, I hate that. What is making me feel crazy right now? I hate this song. I'm done listening to this song.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear this song any more times. I don't want to chase you around right now. I'm tired. I can't hold you up with no support.
Yeah.
That's not going to work for me. My back hurts. I need to put these children down. This is the thing I forgot about the mom that I mentioned. What she started to do when the 2 little boys got too heavy is she would hold one and then she would lean down to hold the hand of the other. And that's how she got all to the side. Yeah, like this. Yeah. Yes. Or it would be the other side.
Sure.
Like this. So intense.
Yeah.
Right. So
or if you're starting to dread mealtime, that's a common one. We feel that it's like, every mealtime is a battle.
Yes.
Or bedtime. I'm dreading this because it's a battle. Then you start to figure out like, okay, well, what's going on and how much of the battle is because we're not honoring whatever is happening here.
Yeah. Yeah, you find the boundaries by like telling the truth to yourself, listening for the messages in your body and in your emotions and knowing like, oh, I need something here.
Yeah.
There's a need of mine that is emerging. Let's figure out what that thing is. So some of the things that came up in the call were like I made my son a lunch that he typically likes, healthy, beautiful food at the appropriate time. And he's like, I don't like it. So then I made him a different lunch and he was like, well, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want this either. And then I made another one and he threw it on the ground. Right?
This is my life. I've lived this too.
They don't have to like that food.
No. And they probably do like the food.
And you get to make a choice in a moment like that. Do I have time to make more food? Do I have more food to make? Do I whatever? Sure.
Yeah.
If it feels like you want to do that, great.
Yeah.
If it feels like you don't want to do that, you get to say, actually, I already spent the time that I had making lunch today.
Yeah.
Happy to add some carrots to your plate if you'd like that. And then you move on with your life.
Yeah.
And if your child doesn't want to eat that, that's no problem. You can set it aside and it's totally there for them when they're hungry.
Yeah.
Which is not the same as I made some disgusting adult food that you children at dinner must eat.
Yeah.
Oh, and now I'm going to save it in the refrigerator and it's cold and I'm going to force feed it to you for breakfast.
Exactly.
Not
yeah.
at all
One of the
the
moms
same.
said like anytime she introduces a new food, she doesn't assume the kid's going to want it. And so it's not the same boundary that she holds or something. And I think that's totally relevant.
Right.
If it's a food your kid likes, they're just exercising like power, right? They're testing this experience and how much is mom what's she gonna do? Is she gonna make me another meal?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think even you were talking about doing something weird. I mean, that's like one of Layne's key pieces of wisdom that is so helpful to moms of little people. Toddlers especially is like, maybe do something weird. What could you do so that this child might be more inclined to eat? One mom suggested doing a picnic on the floor. Well, okay, you could try eating this down here or under the table or something. Or you could take your carrots and dip them in hummus or something, like let's try and make an activity out of this. Something Sean and I have done at dinners when Wilson is usually the one who's like, I don't like this, even though we know he absolutely does. He's just saying it, is we cheer so loudly, just like ridiculously loud at someone who takes a bite. Anybody, we're like, all right, ready? Let's cheer now. And then the kids think it's hilarious. And then they all want to take bites because they want to be cheered at. And so it's really just the do something weird thing. But sometimes it ends in them crying and them being like, but I want something else. I decided today I don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, buddy, I'm so sorry. I got nothing right now. Like, this is what we have. And then I don't know, you move on. I've never had it get to the point where like they really won't eat anything. So I don't know. The protests happen, but they usually come around and eat something.
Yeah. And everything that you're describing is within the bounds of what works for you.
Yeah.
That works for you. It works for me if you want to sit on the floor. That's no problem.
Yeah, right.
It's not you overstretching, changing what you need, stretching the meal out to be many, many, many hours long, making, taking from you, right? There are plenty of ways that we can solve your problem that don't take anything from me. I want to be able to be really clear about what we're doing here before we get into like lots of examples because things can extrapolate in so many details. But what I'm saying is that you get to, in each moment of your life with your child, you get to hear what it is that they would like, know that it's sort of their role to kind of ask you for the moon, and then check in with yourself about what you will and won't do in this moment. And it's not what I can and can't do, and it's not what I have to and what I don't have to do. It's checking in with your own will and your own needs and your own feelings in that moment and authentically saying like, this is what I will do, this is what I won't do. And then you calmly let them know what that is and hold that line. And that's the relationship dynamic, is them being like everything and you being like, well, not everything, this, and being able to like peacefully negotiate a relationship that works well for you and works well for them. And like, that's kind of the key to the boundary, is like, what will work for me also in this situation? I see what you're presenting me with, child. What also works for me? I see that you want me to hold you. I'm happy to hold you. I love holding you.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me to stand for the next 45 minutes and hold you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that that's what you want. I hear what you want and that makes sense. That doesn't work for my body. What I'm going to do is sit down and hold you, and we're going to get to be close, but I'm sitting here on the sofa. If that's not what you like, you're welcome to go do something else.
Yeah. That's great.
And keeping that very peaceful, knowing that there are going to be some protests, particularly if your child is a little bit older into the toddler zone and you haven't been doing this, it's going to be a change. So they're going to have to explore this new dynamic, and that is likely to be a little bit loud. It's important to know that for you and for them, it's okay to not feel okay sometimes. Like it's okay to be upset when something that you don't like happens.
Yeah.
A lot of things happen in real life that we don't like. And it's okay to not feel okay. And it's just uncomfortable. You can check and you can tell them and you can tell yourself, I'm safe, you're safe, I've looked around. I think what is happening here, I think this is the way to go. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I feel very uncomfortable and you seem very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's all. There's no extra story about it. There's no solving the discomfort. Like that's something that's really hard for us as adults. We didn't get this kind of care as children of like, yeah, here we acknowledge your emotional landscape. And it's okay that sometimes that emotional landscape is not pleasant.
Yeah. If anything, we can learn from them because in that moment, they're going to feel what they feel really big. And then they're going to recover and be all done feeling that.
Yeah.
And you and me and us, we tend towards, I feel something, ooh, I don't want to feel that. I'm going to just power through. And that may not be the healthiest way. So if anything, as it's happening, just remind yourself that all of this is so healthy and fine, and they'll recover very well.
Yeah.
If anything, they'll be healthier grown-ups if they can learn how to feel and move on.
Yeah.
Have pain and move forward.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that your baby's going to cry. It's sad.
Yeah,
It's okay that it's sad.
Oh,
it's okay that she's sad, and it's okay that it feels sad for you too. And it's not going to be like this forever.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
what you're doing is not plugging in something to the variable of an equation, right? It's altering your relationship so that it's a more healthy dynamic. So that will take a little bit of time. And it's sort of like, something that you guys are like carving together.
Yeah.
But then that's going to be there. Like that dynamic's going to be there, and it's going to be the new way of things for you guys where both of you get to be here. You both get what you need. And now your relationship is built on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And they come to expect it, which is so good. It's so much easier when they know what your lines are, what your edges are rather.
Yeah, and they also personal boundaries get to shift from day to day. If you're trying to set boundaries around like a schedule or there are other kinds of things like that are like, actually the pattern's really important. But in terms of like, I'm just making sure that this works for like my body and my personhood.
Right.
Different things work for me on different days.
Sure.
And a big thing in my classroom is once you get into like 3-year-olds, you get a lot of like fair. That's not
Oh
fair.
my gosh.
I don't care if it's fair.
Yeah.
Fair is actually like not the value in my classroom. In my classroom, everybody gets what they need.
Yeah. Do you know that that's the line in my house every day? And even Jules, no fair.
Yeah.
And at nighttime, she's like in her crib. I'm like, it's bedtime. She's like, no fair. This is so cute.
Yeah.
It is fair. Go to bed.
It's super fair. Fair is not actually important to me.
Right.
What's important to me is that everybody gets what they need.
Yeah.
And that can mean that everybody gets something different.
Yeah.
And that can mean that what you needed yesterday is different than today.
That's good.
And I made a different choice about it.
Yeah.
I need something different. Yesterday, I had a lot of energy and I had so much fun racing around the classroom with you. Today, I'm tired and I get to have what I need.
This is really good. Yeah, that's so good.
That's equity. The definition of
Yeah.
equity is everyone gets what they need.
Yeah.
Where the definition of equality is everyone gets the same.
Okay.
So it's like a shift in the value of like actually fairness is kind of an old world mindset.
Interesting.
What we want now is equity. We want everyone to get what they need.
Yeah. It's really good.
That's what we're doing here. Here are some words
Yes.
that you can say, that you're allowed to say, even if your child doesn't like it. No, thank you. I used to have a keychain that was like a really cute graphic that just said, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you.
Yes.
I carried it around on my keys all the time because I learned how to say this in a preschool classroom and I didn't know how to say it in my life.
Wow.
Like I didn't know
Yeah.
that no could be no thank you.
Yeah.
And no thank you is actually like very respectful. It's
Totally.
very polite. It's not mean. It's actually very nice
Yeah.
to say no thank you, but there's a no in front of my thank you.
Yeah.
And I get to say no thank you. That actually is the number one thing that I say in
I say it
tantruming
all the time,
situations
too.
or when children throw food or when it's whatever. I just say, oh, no thank you. And then I move on.
Yeah.
It's so neutral. I don't have to give them a reason for everything. I can simply say no thank you. So that is my gift to you. You just get to say
great.
no thank you. You also can say that to men who are being strange. You can say that to your own mom. You can say that to your husband if you need to. You can say it to your friends. No thank you.
Yeah.
Here's another one. I don't let people hurt my body.
Oh, that's good.
I don't have to tell you how it hurts. I don't have to say you're too big for me to carry. I don't have to say, oh my gosh, look at my foot. You really stepped on it. It's turning red. I can just say, oh, I don't let people hurt my body.
That's good. I usually say we don't let people hurt our bodies, and this hurts me. So we don't do that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I want little children to say, no, thank you. I don't let people hurt my body.
It's so good. Yeah.
It's very respectful. It's very clear.
And it's such a good life lesson. It's great.
That's not comfortable for me.
Yep.
Also can be said to strange men or your mom or your
or your boss, anybody. Yeah.
That's not comfortable for me. It's too loud for my ears right now. Would you mind taking that to another room?
Yep.
That's
really
allowed.
Mm-hmm.
They can be loud. They can listen to that song.
Yeah.
It can be too loud for you.
Yeah.
They can be asked to do the same thing they're doing right now somewhere else. And they don't want to. They want to do it in the living room. And that's okay that they don't want to and that they want to do it in the living room.
Yeah.
It's too loud for my ears right now.
It's really good.
I'm going to do one more and take a break. I can get that for you when I'm finished with what I'm doing. I'm going to finish what I'm doing and then I can help you. I'm going to finish my food and then I can get that for you.
It's my every dinner.
I'm doing something right now, but when I'm done, ooh, can you imagine if your time really mattered?
I know.
I'm in the middle of something and I'd be happy to help you
Yeah.
as soon as I'm finished.
Yeah.
I can get that for you when I'm done. This, I will say, is especially important if you have an only child or a first child. Because when there are 3 people in the room and 2 of them are grown-ups, someone can always help you.
Yeah,
someone
that's a great
can
point.
sort of always stop and listen to you. And yet that's really not what life is like. And a lot of the times both of those grown-ups still are doing something. And they don't need to put down every single thing that they're doing instantaneously to help your child.
It's really good. It is so much easier to do this stuff if your partner's on your same team. You see sometimes that dynamic play out where it's almost assumed the mom, kind of the stereotype is like that the mom will just always be on her feet, ready to do the thing. And so sometimes we need to remind our person that we love so much.
Yeah.
Like, hey, will you back me on this? Can you help me, reinforce this idea? And a lot of times that person just totally doesn't even realize that that's the play in the house. Like that's the way things have gone.
Yeah.
And it's definitely easier if you're both on the same team and you can even like call it out for each other. Like, hey, no, let dad eat his dinner. This is his moment. Or like, no, mom's doing this. Let her do that. She's got to finish this.
Yeah.
If you're backed by another adult, that really helps.
Absolutely. And even in my classroom, sometimes there's this thing of like, I don't let people treat my Miss Katie that way.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, actually, I don't allow for people to speak to Miss Emily like that.
Oh, that's
This
so
is
sweet.
my friend and I'm actually in charge in this classroom and that's not what we do here.
Yeah.
I care for that person. Like having someone
That's great.
vouch for your humanity
Yeah, that's so
can
good.
be really impactful.
Yeah.
And so this is sort of like my concluding promise to you and to you all is that boundaries are something that the other people in your life actually crave. They deeply crave the clarity of knowing where your edges are, knowing how to relate to you. Your children love you and the other people in your life love you.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. And the ones who don't will
All the ones who
reveal
matter.
themselves.
Yeah.
When you say, this is myself, it has a shape,
True.
I'm going to hold my shape. It's my basic human right
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
get to exist and take up my space. And everyone, all of your children, and everyone who really loves you and is going to be able to be in relationship with you is going to be, relieved to know how to do it.
Yes.
For someone to just show you how to successfully love them is so beautiful and so
Totally.
powerful. So that's my promise, that boundaries are really, really the beginning of your like actual, authentic, real relationship with someone.
Yes.
Including your very small child.
Yes. Yeah. And I will leave them with an example from this morning that was me really doing what we talked about on Tuesday during a tantrum where I was basically just, the only thing I had to do was get Jules dressed so she could leave the house to go somewhere fun. And she had a huge fit. And so I'm telling you this because I know that you live these experiences. And sometimes while it's happening, you're racking your brain like, what the heck am I supposed to do? And that's what I did. And I did everything we talked about on Tuesday in the call. So I let her go to her room, which she did. She walked to her room, she closed the door, and she wailed for like 2 minutes. And I was like, okay, baby, like I'm right here. Just when you're done freaking out, like I'm right here on the other side of the door. 2 minutes pass, she's still crying. I go in, she's still freaking out, and she's not hungry and she's not tired. She is overcoming being sick, but it didn't seem like it was that. She's just feeling all her feelings. So I'm sitting in the room with her. So then I'm thinking I'll do something weird. So I put like a blanket over me and was like, do you want to come in the blanket? No, she's still freaking out. So then I like grab her dog stuffed animal. I'm like, should we feed the dog? Trying to distract her. She stops crying for a moment and then cries again. I don't want to put my clothes on. So then I think about like if she feels the weather, then maybe she'll know she needs clothes. So then I scoop her up and I bring the clothes with, and I'm like, we're going to go outside, but let's not be too loud because the birds live here. So we go outside, and so she quiets down a little for the birds, still whimpering, but like quiet. So she won't take her jammies off, like won't. So then I'm thinking like, okay, well, I'll just put her clothes on over her jammies. That's a compromise that worked. Even like logistically, they could fit over her jammies. Did that. So she stopped crying a little bit. And then ultimately she was paying enough attention to the birds that she was fine. And then she came back inside and ate and was calm. But it was just basically the whole time I have your voice and these moms being like, we'll try this, we'll try that. Like all of it was everyone, all of you guys. And then I asked Sean, what does he do in certain moments when they really protest when it's time to leave the house? And he said the main one is around lunchtime. And so this is a good idea. He said it helps him. Lunchtime, they usually say they don't want to eat the food, even though he knows that they love the food. So he sits them at the table, like, we got to eat the food and then go get Eloise from school. If they don't eat it because they're saying, we don't like this, he says, okay, well, that's all we've got. So I'm going to put it in the car and we're going to go get Eloise. If you guys get hungry, in the car or at the park after we have lunch. And he said they always eat it. It's just sometimes they eat it in the car and sometimes they eat it at the park, but they always eat it. And I thought that was helpful because in those moments I actually wouldn't really know what to do, and maybe I'd pack like a whole bunch of crap because I just would be like, I don't know. So these are just some practical things you could try. They may work, they may not. In the Very Good Mothers Club community, you can join, become a member, and there's like a forum, and you guys could write what works for you, what doesn't. It's a great place to ask questions and have other moms give suggestions. But those are practicals of living this stuff out. Not easy, but so much easier when you've got Layne by your side. And lucky us, we do. You and me. So yeah, you like that? Did you approve?
Yeah, that sounds great. I think it's a really good example of Sean making sure that the kids get what they need in a way that works for him.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Smart. Cool. Layne approves. Okay. Goodbye, you guys. We love you. You're doing so good. Thank you for being a part of this, for listening, for sharing, for telling your friends. It means so much to us, and we'll see you soon.